Good morning, everybody. How we doing? May 8th, 2024. April came and went. May is here, right? We got the May showers complete, so we know it's real. Welcome. This is the Premarket Prep session where we go over all the important news, notes, analysis, information that's key to keeping you consistently profitable in markets. Can't guarantee that every play is a win, that every day is a win, but you can guarantee that you're getting 1% better each and every day if you're putting yourself in the right environment. The environment is what gives you experiences, and those experiences turn into your knowledge base, and your knowledge base composes your mindset, and your mindset is the lens through which you perceive opportunity. So if you put yourself in the right environment, you can cultivate the correct mindset, and then you see more opportunities, right? And part of that is being here every day, getting 1% better daily, which is that philosophy of Kaizen, right? Which is so close and near and dear to the core of not only our trading group, but anything that's involved with me, right? Including the Kaizen event that's going on June 19th through the 21st. It'll be stocks focused. It'll be AI focused. We do these, live trainings every once in a while, and it's just become too big to ignore. I was going to let everybody kind of freestyle and just, continue to learn AI on their own, but it seems like a lot of people struggle with where to start, what they need to learn, how to sift through the tools, how to use the correct tools. A lot of people are losing track on what these big companies are doing, revolving around AI and how it should affect their long-term holdings in the companies, and as well as this next wave of AI stocks, right? We all know about Nvidia, but what comes next, all that and more is what we'll get into. What these large language models are, how to talk to them, different tools that you can use, how you I have like a whole host of AI tools that I use to make me better at using the original set of AI tools, right? So don't just stop with, okay, I know of ChatGPT and I've used it before. It's a tool, just like stock options, right? And the tool is only as good as the user. You've got to have a system, right? Just like with trading, you got to have a system. When you use AIs, you got to have a system. Otherwise, it's kind of like I don't know, going to like you go to a kitchen that has everything in the world, but you only know how to make grilled cheese. It doesn't really help you that that kitchen has everything in the world if all you know how to do is make grilled cheese. Now, I'm a big grilled cheese fan, right? But there are probably other situations that might call for something other than a grilled cheese. So it's important for you to be able to use the maximum capabilities of what you have available to you. And that's what this session is about. So I'm excited for that. I'mBetterDaily.com is where you go ahead and get registered. For those of you that haven't, right, you're not going to hear it easing up from me. This is a time in which, right, you've got the IMF, International Monetary Fund, coming out and saying for developed countries, this is going to touch 60% of jobs, right? Some of them will be completely replaced. Others will just be augmented or made better by AI. Those are the people that are going to win over the course of the next 5 years, 10 years. People that know how to use this and use this to the fullest to do 10 people's jobs instead of one, right? So I know a lot of people might say, I go to my job, why do I need to do any more? And they're not paying me anymore. That's the reason why you aren't making any more, right? People that provide value to the world get compensated for that value. You don't get compensated more and then provide more value, right? You are supposed to provide that value, right? And then you say, oh, wow, your job says this person, it actually set up this, that, and the third, and we only hired them to do this. We got to keep them and we got to elevate them, right? That is how you work your way up and how you utilize this time in history, which is a very special time, to catapult you forward for the next few years, right? This is when you have that next run of Shark Tank caliber people start to rise up, right? When did Mark Cuban rise to prominence? During the internet boom, right? With broadcast.com. This is the exact same setup. So when you look at people like, oh man, I wish I would have had a chance like Mark Cuban did back when the internet first started, you got that now, right? Amazon, same thing. Started during the internet boom. Amazon actually completely was ground down to dust during the internet, boom and bust. But it was still created during that internet boom. There were so many, literally the world's wealthiest now were created during that dispensation in time. And we're having another dispensation in time like that. So don't undersell yourself and definitely don't let it pass you by. Make sure that you're in the virtual room, right? Because your environment matters, just like it matters about you being here each and every day to go over what we got happening with markets. So again, I'mBetterDaily.com is where you sign up for that. Very excited. Have been busy. I'd say the majority of my schedule has been AI busy rather than stock market busy. And I love the stock market. It's still something I do each and every day. But in my free time, That's what I'm diving more into. It's just all the different programs, models, how to use them, how to use them, how to use them, what programs I could use to make the programs I currently use them easier. All of that, right? Got to have your team around you. It's a lot easier to be, a one person team or a three-person team that can do a 100-person job if you got the right tools. Now, in terms of our top news, we don't really have too crazy of news today, but we do have a number of big earnings reports to kind of go over, and of course some Tesla news because Elon can't stay out of the headlines for long. Our top news divergence. So Sweden is following Switzerland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic in easing monetary policy for the first time since hiking cycles began in 2022, when inflation surfaced in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic, back when it was transitory. The Riksbank overnight lowered its policy rate by 0.25 basis points to 3.75%, making it more likely that the ECB will also jump on the bandwagon. So we've got, more and more of our kin, our brothers in Europe, our allies that are, our NATO allies specifically, that are jumping on that easing bandwagon. The shift is noteworthy to global investors as it highlights the current central bank divergence taking place across the world. We've got different banks doing different things, but it is a positive sign that some are starting to ease. Press release, quote, when inflation approaches the target while economic activity is weak, monetary policy can be eased, Sweden's Riksbank said in a statement. However, the outlook for inflation is uncertain. As inflation now falls from very high levels, there's uncertainty on both the upside and downside. The adjustment of monetary policy going forward should therefore be characterized by caution. So even them, right, at Sweden's Riksbank is like, look, we're not out of the woods yet. Yes, we might be, starting to cut, but they don't all the way know what's going to happen, right? What the reaction will be. They're just kind of hoping that this doesn't cause inflation to shoot back up and prolong a problem that would not have been made this long if they had just stuck to the course. Um, Double check here. Okay, nice. Now, this contrasts with the wait and see mode of the United States, which is taking a more gradual path toward easing. Many in Europe are scared of getting stuck behind the curve as growth slows and unemployment rises. The housing market is also of concern, with many mortgages across the region carrying short term variable rates, which can pinch the economy if interest rates stay elevated for too long. A balancing act that I don't envy anyone who's a part of. Ahead of the Fed, there have been some worries that cutting before the U.S. could cause the krona or euro to lose value against the greenback, which in turn could lift dollar-denominated imports and even cause inflation to resurface. European policymakers seem to be less concerned about these effects, putting more of a focus on domestic conditions and not linking policy to other central banks. Quote, I've said we are data dependent and are not Fed dependent. ECB President Christine Lagarde declared at a press conference in April. So she's like, basically, we do what we want to do, right? We're the European Central Bank. We don't depend on the Fed, and we're going to start cutting. So only time will tell who's right. I would rather rates stay higher for longer than us have to deal with inflation shooting right back up again. But that's just me. I understand that this affects everyone differently. I understand it might be squeezing different people differently, but that's why, again, we make sure that we use the tools we have available instead of just sitting there and getting squeezed. Don't just sit there and get squeezed, right? It's like in the action movie when that person is sitting there and, like, the villain has them and then they notice something in the corner that they can use to escape. You can either sit there and get your head chopped off, right? Or what you know is coming, right? If you feel the squeeze, you don't just sit there and say, well, I guess I'm getting squozed, right? For all my people, like as kids back in the day, there was always someone that said squoze is past tense of squeeze. But if you're sitting there and you feel the squeeze, right, and okay, I'm trying to build a family, I'm trying to make sure my family stays afloat, or I'm trying to purchase a house, or I'm trying to do this, or I'm trying to do that. You're trying to do all this stuff, but you aren't doing anything different. Then you're just allowing yourself to be squeezed. Don't allow yourself to be squeezed, because we can't control how long these interest rates stay high. Right, we can't do anything with that, but we can control how much bacon we're bringing home, right? How easy or how tough we make our current job on ourselves, right? Your job might be laying people off. Maybe, praise the Lord, you didn't get laid off, but you're now stuck with extra work while they hire someone else. And you don't even know all the different tools that you could be using in order to ease that workload for yourself. Stuff that you could be automating, right? Things that you could have set up already, to make your company run smoother and make what you do there a lot easier to do. So That's kind of how I feel about it with the rates. No matter what happens with rates in the US, I'm gonna make sure that I'm grinding. I'm gonna make sure that I'm grinding, that I'm getting things done, and that I'm using all of the different resources available, in order to ensure that I'll be okay. But I won't wait on Powell, right? This guy said that inflation was transitory for the better part of a year and a half, and obviously that wasn't the case. So either he didn't know, and that just means he's slightly incompetent, or he did know and he was lying. Either way, I don't need somebody like that determining, what I do in my life. So just try and make sure that you are controlling the majority of the exogenous variables, right? The determining variables that are steering, how the equation of your life is going. And don't let fear rule you at all, right? We're only here for a little while. There's no reason to be scared about anything, right? You start to realize embarrassment, fear, all that stuff. It's so not even worth giving the energy to, um, because it doesn't leave you with anything on your deathbed, right? You don't die and then fear says, "Hey, congratulations, you played it really, really safe. I want to give you this award as you pass on, for being fearful all of your life. Congratulations." No, it's just like, man, I really kept you from doing everything you ever dreamed you could have done. Peace, right? And I don't want to be laying there with any regrets. So as we get, existential this morning a little bit, let's bring it back and talk about some China tensions. So TikTok and its Chinese parent ByteDance have sued the US federal government to block a new law that would force the sale of the popular short video app or face a ban in the country. TikTok said the bill violated the First Amendment right to free speech, adding that the divestment being demanded is simply not possible. Things will likely head to the Supreme Court as Washington pushes ahead with efforts to protect its national security interests. The Biden administration is also revoking export licenses that allowed Qualcomm and Intel to supply Chinese firm Huawei with chips for laptops and phones. So it's just this ongoing battle of like keep everything away from China type of thing. Um, I mean, the beautiful thing for China about the US is that everything can get dragged out in a democracy, in an extensive legal system. You can drag this out and drag that out and, appeal this and subpoena that person. So it's just like they can really drag this out and continue to drag it out and drag it out and drag it out to see how long we want to have this fight. But this is the, most recent development. Now, in terms of earnings news, House of Mouse sliding 9.5%, almost 10% to $105 per share. Disney wrapped up its worst session in 18 months on Tuesday. Not fun for the House of Mouse, but I'm not shaking at all. The company reported a profit for its entertaining streaming division, Disney Plus and Hulu, and forecast full combined streaming business profitability in fiscal Q4, including ESPN Plus. So, what went wrong? Seeking Alpha investing group leader Long Player believes the decline was an overreaction, driven by a combination of sell on the news and some fears about a Q3 loss from its direct to consumer business. Disney's box office and TV business might still be a problem, but does the pullback represent a buying opportunity? You guys know how I feel about Disney, right? In the trading group and beyond. I think one important thing that they didn't mention here, and I don't know why they didn't mention it here because it was big news, is that their password sharing crackdown goes into effect over the course of the next month, right? So that wasn't something that was even factored into this earnings report, and the earnings report already wasn't bad, right? They beat on earnings. I think they might have missed on revenue, but they didn't even mention the miss on revenue here. So I know that they beat on earnings. But the big thing for them is looking for that same explosion that we saw post Netflix, right? Which was Netflix instituted the password sharing crackdown. It took a few months, right? It took some time, but then that started to manifest in Netflix's bottom line. And that's why Disney is saying that no matter what, we're going to be, positive, cash flow positive. We're going to have profitability by Q4 of this year, which is a huge milestone for streaming because, as I've talked about here a number of times before, streaming is not a profitable business, right? It is not a it is literally you throwing billions of money into a furnace just trying to consolidate people's attention on you. That's what you're doing. It's literally you going, hey, 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 to the tune of billions year after year after year after year until eventually you can make money from people staring at you, right? It's a very, very tough business model that is not recommended, but the fact that they see that path forward to profitability helps, and the fact that they already know that it will work because it worked with Netflix is nice, right? Disney is, the biggest media giant of the past 100 years, most impactful media giant of the past 100 years. So they continue to crank out great content. Not everybody loves everything, right? Insert Meet the Marvels and all this other stuff, but overall they crank out great content. They've got all the classics, and people won't give it up, right? People always say, "Oh, I'm gonna unsubscribe." No, you won't. Right? No, you won't. You will keep subscribing no matter what they do, even if you have to pay for it yourself. And that's exactly what's going to happen here with the House of Mouse. So it's nice when you can look at a company that you already love in terms of technicals, but then also say fundamentally they've got some bullish things coming out of the pipeline. It doesn't have anything like a 9.5% knee jerk overreaction impact my view of the company and what I see it doing. In terms of automotive news, robo-taxi rollout, Tesla CEO Elon Musk reportedly proposed testing full self-driving software in China through robo-taxis during his surprise visit to the country last month. While the government in Beijing was open to the proposal, Tesla would still need approval to collect and transfer data in China to train the software. Musk also said to have sent one of his trusted lieutenants back to China to lead operations there following back-to-back layoffs and executive exits. In other news, the U.S. NHTSA has threatened Tesla with 135 million. I thought it was 13.5. 135 million in penalties unless it provides more information on last year's autopilot recall. So more heat on Tesla that undoubtedly has it probably floundering here pre-market. I mean, testing that he's just really not trying to give up on China. He's hell bent on succeeding in China. I'd say he's well aware that no other American tech company has succeeded there, and it would be a huge, kind of thing for the ego, as well as just a huge milestone in general to succeed there. So we'll see, if he can get his full self-driving testing started there. And it's just with him asking for all that data, it's like how much give and take will be involved with Chinese government being able to look under the hood of what's going on at Tesla, and then Tesla allowing that in order to get the data that it needs to test its full self-driving software. I think that's wild though that in the U.S. they're like, hey, why did you do this autopilot recall? Tell us, right? Tell us or pay us $135 million. So we'll likely have some more news coming out, of whatever explanation Tesla has. In terms of today's markets, back to it being a mixed bag. In Asia, Japan were down 1.6%, Hong Kong down 0.9, China down 0.6, India down 0.1. In London, the FTSE up 0.3%, Paris up 1%, Frankfurt up 0.4%, Dow up 0.04%. Just call that flat, man. S&P down 0.02%, Nasdaq down 0.1, crude down 1%, gold flat, Bitcoin down 2.9%. In terms of today's economic calendar, nothing crazy really happening. Wholesale inventories at 10 a.m. So we get a little bloop bloop, few minutes of volatility there at 10 a.m. In terms of where we are, broader market, and kind of how things are looking, we're in an area that is primed for reversal on SPY, right? On SPY, on QQQ. We had a ton of volume coming in around this 518 level, and it is the same level that we consolidated at and around for weeks previously, right, in the market. This 518 level, we kind of sat on top of, we broke through it. It was tough resistance. We broke through it. We sat on top of it, fell through, tried to push back over, couldn't hold over, and then we ended up selling off, pretty significantly from the beginning of April through the end of April. So from like the April 10th to the 19th. So we're back testing this level that is effectively functioning as a ceiling for markets. And there was a crap ton of volume coming in around that level. And typically, right, if that's coming in around an area of resistance, that can be a lot of people selling, and that's what it's looking like because of that knee jerk reaction we got off of that 518 area yesterday. Where if you have Thinkorswim open or you're looking at SPY yesterday, right around 125, right, we got that leg of selling, a few big reds taking us down. And that's telling me all I need to know, right? If SPY got to that 518 and then out of nowhere we rocket upward in order to get over it, cool. But what we did was we hit it, and then boom, got smacked down. That is telling me where that, where that volume is going, right? Where that volume was pushing toward. So that's important to take note of, right? And that's why yesterday I positioned inputs and those puts are up today. It's important to be in the right group, the right environment, so that you can know how to navigate and how to execute, and how to learn to see and pick up on things so that you can do this for yourself as well. So SPY heading lower. What does that mean for all the other stocks that might look good? Does it mean that they have to die? No. Does it mean that we have to be on guard with them? Yes, right? Things can change in a moment's notice in the stock market. And that's what you have to be really cognizant of, is that, like, the situation is the situation until people dump millions of dollars into positions, right? So I think that's what's really important, is like, you might start out and say, oh, the Timberwolves are playing. Actually, I won't use a series that's happening right now, but let's say you got, the Nuggets, or let's say the Lakers. The Lakers are playing OKC, right? And I think the Lakers are going to win, and then LeBron gets hurt. Obviously, those circumstances can change, right? Same thing if I think OKC is going to win and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets hurt. Oh, those circumstances can change. Yesterday, we had multiple millions, right? Tens of millions of dollars flowing in on SPY and QQQ, and then hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in on both of them at these levels. That is something that can affect all of the other things that are going on, right? So you just have to make sure that um, you are kind of sized correctly, right? If you're sized too heavy, then decrease your size. If you need to hedge, then hedge. But that's the thing about markets; things can shift at the drop of a hat, right? At a moment's notice, and you're not trying to, say, oh, I can account for every future possible shift, because that's just impossible. You just have to make moves based off of what you have now, and then adjust based off of what you get moving forward. Right. So I hope that makes sense, because it's like you don't want to abandon solid looks, because there are still stocks that can push, and different tickers that can push despite the market turning around. But you just want to make sure you're sized appropriately and all that good stuff. So we're in a spot where we could be toppling over, which is very important to know, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known." This is me, waving that flag early on, saying that we could turn around and reverse here and continue selling. Because this 518 area on SPY is an important area that so far we got smacked down from yesterday. And unless we get over that with big volume, we're likely turning around and heading back lower. So it's important to be aware of, right? You get those little nuggets, that valuable insight being here for these sessions, which is why it's so key, making getting 1% better a cornerstone part of your day. In terms of what else is happening, Apple unveils new iPad Air, iPad Pro AI-focused M4 chip. U.S. set to resume purchases for Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So they're trying to fill our SPR back up. Reddit soars after first IPO, post-IPO results. Forecast comes in strong. Investigation finds sexual discrimination, harassment at FDIC. Record cruise demand, Royal Caribbean to hire thousands. Uber and Instacart team up on restaurant deliveries. Getting a ride loss narrows at Lyft as bookings climb 21%. Yeah, loss narrows. I wonder if Lyft went up or down as a result of that, because Lyft is one of those companies that, kind of continuously sucks for earnings. Oh, they actually went up. Look at them. I wonder if his Snap reported. Oh, Snap did report actually and beat, which was crazy. The Snap is down pre-market. There must have been some news on Snap. Snap stock drops after 650 million convertible debt offering. So just bad news on Snap. But hey, look at Lyft and Snap both doing well for earnings. Congrats to them. Usually they are habitual underperformers. Boy given Pfizer experimental muscular dystrophy therapy dies. Not good. Prayers to the family. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That sucks. Experimental muscular dystrophy therapy. It's experimental for a reason, and you know what? As far as I'm concerned, take the chances. If the alternative is the same, might as well go out and not go gentle into that good night. Amid lawsuits, OpenAI building tool to let content creators manage use. Biden to unveil $3.3 billion Microsoft AI data center in Wisconsin. So that'll wrap us up today, May 8th, 2024. Again, if you're not already registered and you have your seat locked down in the room, make sure you are at I'mBetterDaily.com early bird sale. Last week, this week, going away soon, lock down that price, only goes up from here as value continues to increase. And of course, everybody who's VIP will have access to that Prometheus bot that I built that houses all of those different AI tools as a nice little directory. You can go in and say, hey, I need an AI content creation tool. That's free. What do you have for me? Or, I need something that can, I don't even know. There's so many different things. I need, a bot that can impersonate celebrity personalities. And one that has a monthly cost of less than this. What do you have for me? Right. And then it'll just pull it right up for you. So just make sure you're in lockstep with what's happening in the world because it's a lot. And you don't want to get left behind, right? Especially when this impacts 60% of positions and jobs within a developed country. And that's just for now. So let's stay on the right curve of things. Let's continue to get 1% better, everybody. And let's have a great day in markets, right? Other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for our next Premarket Prep session. Have a good one.